Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the potential Classic Plus survey that's been floating around. Apparently this thing has been debunked and it's not exactly real, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to entertain the idea that Classic Plus is on the horizon. For the idea or the concept of Classic Plus to work, I think we need some sort of poll system to where the community votes on what changes get added into the game. We also need some sort of infinite timeline. I don't think that seasonal servers really work for the way that Classic is played. To elaborate more on the poll system, the poll would be voted by the community and you would have to have some sort of requirement like being level 60 and clearing Onyxia or Molten Core, something like that, and then you'd be able to vote for the poll. The poll would have to pass with 70% of the players being in favor of the change and it would get added into the game. The other thing is Blizzard would obviously have to ask the right questions. Asking if flying mounts should be in the game is a big red flag, and it makes the community very unsure if Blizzard knows the correct direction to take Classic Plus. The big downside to the poll system being added to the game would be the split decisions that would occur. Say there's a change that's only going to affect Alliance, a world buff gets added that only Alliance benefit from, they're the only ones that can receive this buff. All the Horde players are going to vote against it, all the Alliance players are going to vote for it, and it never makes it into the game because it never passes with a 70% rate. Same thing for class changes. If a hunter nerf is going to be proposed to be added into the game, all the hunters are going to vote against it, every other class is going to vote for it, it potentially passes because there's a higher percentage of players playing everything else. Now hunters are nerfed because of this poll system. So maybe stuff like that doesn't get pulled into the game and we leave that up for Blizzard to interpret. Maybe focus on some of the stuff that Season of Discovery has introduced that affect both Horde and Alliance as well as all the other classes. For example, the heat level difficulties, the increase in difficulty for Molten Core, I think if that was to be polled, it would have never passed with a 70% rate. The community has been very split on that decision. In my opinion, I don't think it was a good change for the game. It's only going to split the player base and it just stagnates the growth of the game entirely. The poll system could be a very powerful tool if used correctly. It gives players the power to be able to change the game in a positive way. It lets Blizzard also gauge the community's interest by actually seeing a number and not just a couple people on the forums or on Reddit complaining about a specific thing. They're actually able to see a raw statistic and say, okay, 90% of the players do not want this into the game. We should definitely stray away from questions like, should flying mounts be in the game, right? 90% of the players want instant mail. Okay, maybe we should focus our attention more on quality of life updates. They're okay with these little small changes, but not game-breaking things like adding new classes or adding flying mounts to the game. I wanted to skip ahead and talk about one of the more important changes, and that would be the dual talent specialization. I think this ultimately should not be added into the game. It will completely change the way the game is currently played, the meta for raiding, and the meta for world PvP. You may think that this may not happen, but look at the trickle-down effect from previous versions of the game. Wrath of the Lich King had this effect, Season of Discovery is having this happen, the world buff meta had this happen, and then of course, look at the way people are building their raid comps. Look at Season of Discovery, people are stacking certain groups because they bring certain utility. You stack a certain class because it does more DPS. Same thing in Classic Era as well. And so there's always going to be some sort of trickle-down effect. I think a good compromise would be just lowering the cost to respec, make it affordable, don't make it something absurd, and making it cap at like 50 gold like it is right now, which just makes no sense. An idea I had while making this video would be you have a certain specialization that would be activated only when you zone into a battleground. You would activate this by talking to your class trainer or the battleground master. You'd pay a fee similar to what dual spec is like, but this would encourage more people to have a PvP spec and then go out and do battlegrounds and PvP more. Let me know what you think about this idea in the comments below. This would obviously shift the meta for battlegrounds. Everyone would be running around in their optimal PvP spec, but I guess you could say the same for reducing the cost of respec as well as adding dual spec into the game. Unless, of course, you have two PvE talents, then maybe that player isn't really intrigued to do battlegrounds in the first place. All right, let's get into this, and I'm going to fire off these as quickly as possible and try to answer this like a poll and only elaborate on things that really need any further elaboration. New or unexplored storylines. Yes, add this into the game. Finish the old stuff first. Finish the Atiesh quest line, because I believe it just ends. You end once you get to Kara, and then that's it. Finish the Oldham quest chain, and then finish the Corrupted Ashbringer quest chain. New reputations and rewards. It depends what gets added, but yeah, some reputations definitely need more love, like the Furbogs have pretty much nothing desirable after Honored, the Hydraxian Waterlords, for example, you get the douse and you're pretty much done with that faction. You don't care about anything else to do with that reputation. New imagined raids as well as new reimagined dungeons. Scratch the reimagined part and just give us new content. Super easy. Very simple one to answer there. The only raid I would reimagine would have to be Mount Hyjal the way that it was in TBC. They would need to ditch the idea of how the waves work in the raid and just give us a more linear progression through the raid, similar to like Molten Core, for example. New future classes and new future races? Absolutely not. Maybe in the future Death Knights because it makes sense lore-wise and whatnot, but I'm just saying that out of just personal opinion. I don't think that Death Knights should be in the game. Personally, I would want to see that, but if this went up into a poll, the community would be extremely split. I don't think people would want new races, new classes, etc. Minor class changes? Sure, if it's a quality of life change to the classes, that's fine. But if it's going to modify the way the game is played, no. Returning players re-entry feature? No, there's no reason for any of this. New player experience? Again, no, there's no reason for any of this as well. The only thing that could be added would be just give people an idea of what they're looking at when they first play the game. Show them, hey, this is your action bar, here's your spell book, here's how you open up your bags, this is your Hearthstone, here's your quest log, go quest, here's Owen Forest, welcome to the game. I think that that's what the identity of Classic is, and I think that that should stay true going forward. New group events and rewards. It depends what they add. This could be very intriguing, it could be very, very good for the social aspect of the game. I would just have to have this question elaborated on, and maybe I would be saying yes to it. Ongoing class tuning / polish. This ties into the minor class changes question, so let me elaborate on both of those right now. I would have to say no at first glance because I know what kind of snowball effect this would have. As soon as you change one class, every other class is going to be asking for some sort of nerf, some sort of buff. In a perfect case scenario, I would just fix the minor things to make the game more fun for multiple specs and multiple classes. Make it to where the meme specs have their mana issues resolved. Make it to where classes with no AoE buttons have at least one kind of AoE tool that they can use within a raid so that they're actually useful on trash damage as well as multi-target encounters. And then maybe give them some sort of buff or some sort of debuff that they bring to the raid, that they're actually brought to a raid. Even if they're at the bottom of the DPS meter, they're still brought to the raid and they're able to play that spec. I don't think this would change the game dramatically. Of course, this is just a perfect case scenario, and this would never actually happen. People would of course be asking for changes to their classes as well. It's just going to be this ongoing thing no matter what, and that's pretty much all I can say about it. Guild Bank, I think this is yes. This is a simple change. People are just using a level 1 bank alt right now. People scam and do stuff like this all the time and name their bank alt similar to what the guild name is, and then they get free stuff sent to them all the time. So yes, just add this to the game. It doesn't take anything away from the game at all. Collections UI, at the moment, I don't think there's really a reason to have this in the game. There's not too many things to collect. There's not too many mounts or toys to be collecting, so I don't see the reason for it. I guess why not? It doesn't really take anything away from the game. Only a couple amount of players really care to collect all the little collectible things in the game, so sure, maybe add it for them. New future class and race combinations? Absolutely not. This ties into the question asked earlier about new classes and new races, so just no. That's a no from me, dog. Improved social features. Implementing a updated social system, so global chats, guilds, pre-made groups. I guess the one thing I would like to be seen added would be an easier way to form groups, because right now using an add-on to sort through all the spam is the only way you're forming a group. There's no way you're looking at LFG chat or world chat or even trade chat and deciphering through all of the spam of people looking for groups. It's pretty bad right now, and we definitely need some sort of system to be able to form groups a lot easier. Don't make it automated. Don't make it teleport you to the dungeon. That's definitely where we draw the line with that. PvP honor system improvements, sure, if it's an improvement and it's going to make people want to go out and PvP more, I don't see why not. If it's going to be a more tedious experience and it's not fun and it makes it harder to track your honor, then no, don't add it to the game. That seems like a pretty simple one, but again, this seems like one of those questions that's kind of fake. It makes me think this survey is not real, but whatever, we're moving on from that. This video has already become longer than I truly wanted it to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split this video into 2 parts. It'll allow me to elaborate more on my thought process for the next set of questions. and it will also allow me to talk more about Classic Plus and just little things that I think could be added into the game that would be really positive for the outcome of its success. And potentially Blizzard could see one of these videos, so the more content I make about Classic Plus, the more opportunities that maybe a dev sees this and potentially proposes the idea back to you guys. As always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.